Leading things off on July the 30th, a workshop will take place with the goal to help you achieve balance, relieve stress, and a whole lot more. Joining us with a preview, we have Emery Michael. We welcome you to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You were waiting with anticipation. You said,
Yes.
here we
So
are.
excited. Yeah, it's wonderful.
Tell us about all the wonderful things that you're doing.
So I'm an art therapist, and I work with individuals and groups. And one of the things I love to do is offer back to the community workshops that help alleviate stress, deal with anxiety. Especially today, everything is just crazy.
Yes.
So I think it's wonderful to be able to offer workshops that include creativity and writing and things we don't often make time for in our day.
Sure. What are people coming to you about? I mean, what's stressful in their lives? What's the number one thing maybe in New York City?
Yeah, the number one thing, I would say a lot of work stress and a lot of just stress about how to balance life at home, life at work, life in general, and finding those times to take breaks. Doesn't happen often.
Sometimes you try to put all those things. If you look at everything in bunches, I think that's one of the things that can stress you out. But if you prioritize, you say, all right, I need to do this first. Let me knock out things one at a time. What do you think?
I think so. And I think often if you can focus on one thing for a short amount of time and then focus your attention on something else, it really starts to divide things up so you know it's doable. Yeah, and for me, the piece about creativity is bringing in a new way to let yourself express whatever is happening for you. So you don't have to talk to someone all the time. You can just put it on paper. You can use words, or you can use art materials and get your hands sort of dirty and have fun with it and let it out.
You're like a little kid eating spaghetti in a little seat, a high seat.
I love it when people who come see me either individually or in these groups get their hands dirty, have fun, and just connect to themselves in a new way while they're putting this out on paper or the table, wherever it ends up is fine.
How did you wind up getting involved in this?
Actually, I became an art therapist because my grandmother had Alzheimer's. And so I did art with her, and it became this new way for us to communicate and be with each other in a way that was positive and wonderful at a time where it might not have been so much.
Did it help out with a disease also?
It did, and when she lived in a facility, I would go visit her, and the art materials I put out would draw everyone in the room. And it's like they were interested. They liked the colors, they liked the feel, they liked not having to rely on words. And so this became a new way, and that's what got me into it. And then from there, I just kept sort of growing it. I work with people who have grief and loss and these heavy things that words don't always come at first. You need a way to express.
Break up the heavy things.
Yes, break it all up. Create a little lightness, get some air and openness.
There you go. Do you travel around to different facilities?
Yeah, so I started my company 2 years ago, and I'm focused. I have my office in Dumbo, but then I do stuff in Manhattan, I do stuff in Queens, I do stuff in Brooklyn, and I try to go to facilities who might not otherwise be able to have an art therapist or someone specialized. Senior centers, And I have a lot of friends who work in hospitals and schools, and we try to be everywhere.
I can see that, visiting hospitals, because there are areas where you can go and really break up. It could help with, explain how it helps with the healing.
Well, so for me, like with hospice, when someone this is the end of their life, and that's what their focus is, to have someone come in with art materials and see bright colors and be able to just explore and enjoy something, even if it's just for 15 minutes, can be a relief. And that lets the body both sort of shift and adjust and settle. It lets our anxiety go down, and it lets us focus on something other than what we're dealing with, even though in the art, that comes out. So it's both a way to show what's going on for a person, as well as a way to sort of take a break from having to figure out what that is.
Then if you're in that situation, instead of the black and the grays, you said you color it up.
Exactly. And then from there,
it helps them to believe that it's okay,
it
either way, it's okay.
It is, and with adults who come to me with anxiety, we put the anxiety on paper. It's much easier to deal with something that's out there and start exploring it from a slight distance than to think what's happening inside right away, but even that shifts what's happening inside.
Is this the same thing that helps? But anxiety helps with the other things that you do?
I think so, yeah. And I think it's both the piece of art that ends up being created, the process of creating it, and also the materials. I mean, think about finger painting when you were young and how wonderful that could be. Well, now we can take that to oil pastels and wonderful paints or colored pencils and just figuring out light shades.
I can understand it. You got the finger paintings here, but back then there was no stress, nothing to worry about. When is Christmas coming? What do I get for Christmas? And to just put yourself in that state of mind, right? And just go for it.
Yeah, a lot less holding you, a lot less
I feel
structure.
much better
See?
with myself now.
And look, your whole body shifted and you just relaxed. Yeah, so that's what I try to offer to people.
That's good. What are your goals with this? How far do you want to take it?
I mean, I would love to. I have a few therapists who work with me now, so I'd like to keep expanding to try to reach more facilities, to offer a space for more people to come into and work with other people dealing with similar things, and just to sort of create something that's accessible to the community.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'd like it to keep growing in whatever way. I currently have stuff happening in Manhattan, mostly Brooklyn, and a little bit here and there, but I'd love to expand north towards the Bronx. I'd love to let this be something more accessible to more people.
Yeah. And how does one know when they have achieved that balance?
I think there's this sort of settling that happens.
Like what I just did a little
yes,
while ago.
exactly. You achieve balance there for a moment. Yeah, so it's that feeling of groundedness, and it's also that feeling of relief. You take a deep breath, or you just have that sort of breathing that goes with however you're feeling at that moment. So you have this full body, full mind sort of settling. And it's okay if it doesn't last for long. Hopefully the art and the tools that people learn in my workshops and other things can actually keep that going.
Yes,
They can do that at home.
Now, for every action is an equal and opposite reaction. How does that make you feel?
Exactly, and that is a good question. I actually think that as a therapist, I try to do my own therapy every few years. I get supervision from other people, and I do my own art to let out what I've taken in so that I'm processing it too.
Yeah, you know, a lot of people who are therapists or psychologists or psychiatrists, they need to go to somebody too, or need to do something to help them, or use some of your tools.
I think the best therapists, psychologists, I think they're the ones who also know that they need to find that balance for themselves so that they can help people more fully and be there more presently for the people who are seeing them.
Do you have anything coming up that we can check out, or?
I have a few things on my website. I have this workshop coming up on Sunday about finding balance, and then in the fall I'm hoping to offer more of a series of sort of wellness through creativity and art and finding that balance in a bigger way.
Excellent. What's going to happen at this workshop? How's it going to look?
Well, we're going to do both some art making, abstract, probably some painting and oil pastels. You don't have to know how to do anything, and that's the wonderful thing about art therapists. You don't have to have ever picked up an art material. We're going to paint, we're going to explore how to use words with our art, and then also we're going to do a little blackout poetry where we have the words and we're using a Sharpie, which feels really good to use sometimes, to create a poem without having to actually write words and deal with that. So
If
it's
I
going to
come,
be a
how
big
do I
mix.
dress? Do I
You dress casually,
Stuff that
relaxed,
can
and
get paint
wonderful.
on?
Sit on the floor if you want to.
Sit on the
You just
floor.
want to be just relaxed
Just-
and
yeah,
open.
just-
Yeah. If you come open, you'll be fine.
There you go.
Yeah.
Where can we go for more information? That website that you were talking
My
about?
website, creativelyhealing.com.
I give a big round of applause, everybody. Emery Michael, founder, director, art therapist, Waterstone, and a creative arts therapy, PLLC. Can I put a .com on it?
You shouldn't.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
All right, we have to take a quick break, but don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more Open next.